Hello! We're gonna do a little bit different Facebook Live today because I'm gonna take you shopping with me. How about that? It was actually my assistant Diana recommended. She's like, why don't you take people shopping with you? And I just remembered I used to do a lot of food shopping tours when I first started my business a long time ago. And so I'm in front of Whole Foods today. There you go, right up there. And I wanna take you food shopping with me. But before that, I'm gonna do a quick sound check. Angela, can you confirm you can hear me okay? And then we're gonna step inside and I'm gonna be that obnoxious person speaking really loudly within the store. Okay, all right, so want to know who's watching and love this? Swipe left to view the, okay, so, this is, I haven't used this in a while, so, okay, we'll see. All right, so, you know, I chose Whole Foods because it's large. It's not a place I go shopping in regularly. I'm wondering, where do you guys go food shopping on a regular basis? What's your store of choice? Yeah, by the way, introduce yourself. Tell me where you're from, and I would love to know where our audience is coming from. Let me just take a look at the comments, and I'm not seeing any comments. That kind of sucks. I haven't swiped left to reveal comments. Oh, somebody's wing. Okay, well, you know what? I don't want to make you wait, so why don't we just get started? I might not be able to see the comments today, which kind of sucks. But anyway, let's get started. So the first thing I want to say is, you know, one of the cool things about Whole Foods, even though I did say just now that it's not the only place I go shopping, I actually do quite a lot of, a couple of different stores. The first thing I want to just tell you is that one of the cool things about Whole Foods is that they do focus on, let's take a look at this one. Can you see the word local? And one of the cool things about shopping locally is that, for those of you who followed me for a while, you would know that local food actually really helps you to build up your immune system. And many years ago that happened to me when I had a bunch of friends who came running with me in Malaysia. They were not used to the local environment. They developed horrendous infections where all of us who used to be regular runners on the trails never had a problem. And so, you know, it really shows you the importance of local food. You're talking about the best practice is to do it from 100 miles away, but not always is it possible, especially if you live in places where in winter there is nothing to eat. It's almost impossible. So one of the things you definitely want to pay attention to is you want to go for locally grown food. Of course, the best practice will be local and organic. And in this case here, see, one of the things is that if it just says local, but it doesn't say organic, it probably means that it is not organic food, okay? So the best practice we definitely want to do is you want to do both local and organic. So I want to take you through the store to kind of pick and highlight certain foods that maybe you do not consume on a regular basis. And so I want to expand your horizons a little bit, because I know that we all get caught in this sort of routine of buying the same things and cooking the same things. Does anybody relate to this? That we all have like our favorite 10 recipes to go, and you're like, oh, I gotta find out more things to eat, and then you don't. And so I wanted to show you, well, one of the cool things to do is you go for colors. You know, if you can start thinking, what colors can I add? Well, take a look at these ones. Aren't they just absolutely beautiful? Those are the purple cauliflowers. When you cook them, they will become much more white. Another one is the yellow cauliflower. So really awesome ones. Part of the reason why I do love cauliflowers, even though not everybody can tolerate them, some people might say they make them really gassy, is that they're crucifers vegetables. So the cool thing about crucifers, and I'm gonna keep walking because I want to show you some other crucifers that are very underestimated because most people don't know what to do with them. And crucifers are wonderful for your liver, because anything that is slightly bitter would be supportive towards the liver. Is going to help you release bile, and the bile is fantastic at clearing out a lot of the metabolized hormones, especially estrogen, which a lot of women have a problem with. So do you guys know what are the symptoms of estrogen dominance? Who wants to post on the page and let us know what are the symptoms of estrogen dominance? And if you're not sure if you have estrogen dominance, Angela, could you post our quiz link on hormonesbalance.com/quiz is the URL, where you can take a quiz and get an idea of which hormones need a little bit of TLC, what could be potentially out of balance. Symptoms are very telling. I know many of you will say, I got tested for hormones, nothing showed up. Look at your symptoms. Oftentimes they're more important than just labs, and labs are not accurate for a variety of reasons. So I want to show you a couple of crucifers that are really phenomenal in helping you rebalance your hormones, even though many women don't know what to do with them. So these would be, let me turn the camera around, and these would be daikon, right? So that's a Japanese, typically Japanese root, used a lot in Japanese cooking. And next here you have the black radish, and then we have the turnips. Look at how beautiful, colorful they are, and a rutabaga, right? So can you guess, like, what are some of the, what would you, like, how would you use these beautiful crucifers in your cooking? And I know many people are like, what do I do with these big bulky roots? In fact, I know that they are not as popular as, say, carrots and other root vegetables, because every time I go to the checkout counter, the lady has to look up the code that they don't remember because not many people buy them. So daikon is amazing at, for example, adding to miso soups, which, you know, if you go to my website, hormonesbalance.com, there is a recipe for miso that we have, very high in probiotics, really easy to make. That used to be my go-to soup when I was really busy working in advertising and didn't have a lot of time in cooking. Now, for the black radish, and in case you're joining us late, I'm just gonna go back to it. So like the black radish here, as well as the turnip, as well as the rutabaga, one of the things I will do with them is a couple of things. One is you can just grate them and add them to your daily salads, right? Just the same way you're adding any other vegetables into a salad. Believe it or not, the interesting thing is they're actually really delicious roasted. So you can thinly slice them up, sprinkle some sea salt, right, or smoked salt for a little bit of fun, and then you know, just drizzle either olive oil or duck fat and put them in an oven, and then they just taste so wonderful. And one of the things is that their bitterness significantly gets reduced when you use them for roasting. Let's see, another way is, you know, I actually use them for fermentation. So like the same way you would make sauerkraut and you're shredding cabbage, you can do the same thing with turnips or rutabaga. I never tried the black radish, to be honest. It is a little strong, that's for sure. And you just ferment them, you know, the same way you would do sauerkraut, exact same technique, adding salt, massaging it, releasing the juices, letting the juice of those radishes just basically becoming the fermentation vehicle, leaving it out for 2-3 weeks, and the ferment is ready. It's also called, using radishes, the method is called it's a Reuben. Oh goodness, I'm blanking out right now. But anyway, so yeah, so who has worked here with radishes? And I'm curious, how do you use them? Because maybe I can learn something from you. How are you using radishes in your daily life? So let's take a look. Another thing I want to share with you is that I know many of you who are harvesting zucchinis and stuff like that, right? So we have, summer is a time for zucchinis. You can see there's such a big variety here of squashes and zucchinis. And then we have more over here. Now, you know, there's only so many zucchinis you can eat. I mean, a healthy plant, zucchini plant, will generate as many as 1 or 2 a day. And so there's only so many zucchinis, right, you can have a day. So what you can do is, how I've been preserving the zucchinis without going crazy, well, you can give it to your neighbors, that's one way. But also, the other way to do it is to basically grate them and use exactly the same method I was talking about the sauerkraut, just ferment them. They're gonna release a lot of juice, so salt is gonna pull the water out of the vegetables. You're using the juice of these vegetables to ferment them, and they're actually really quite delicious. You can add some nice spices as well to it, and voila, you got a ferment, and that way nothing goes to waste. Another vegetable I want to show you is who can guess what this is? So let me turn the video around. Okay, all right. Who can guess what this is? You see it? So it's rather large root. There we go. So this lovely vegetable is called jicama. It's largely used in a lot of Spanish cooking, but I think, so in case you are new to this, let me, whoops, oh no, I just dropped a couple of things. Let me just pick up things. I don't like dropping things in a store. All right, so, yeah, so one of the wonderful things about jicama is that it is full of prebiotics. So prebiotics, you know, a lot of times we talk about probiotics and the importance of doing like either fermented foods or taking probiotic pill. Jicama is super high in prebiotics, which means that it becomes food for probiotics to the good bacteria to live on. So in my upcoming cookbook there are recipes with jicama, but right now I can just tell you, you know, if all you need to do is the first thing you want to do is you want to take off that very hardy skin. And I won't use a peeler, I'll take a knife, like a paring knife, and basically get rid of it. That's the only hard work to be done. The next thing you can do is either put it through a food processor and basically grate it in a food processor, or what you can do is basically cut them up to sticks and add it to any salad. Jicama tastes so good. It's got that sweet, it's like a sweet radish, but it's not as, you know, like a radish on its own is pretty hard to eat, right? Because it's rather bitter. Jicama is not bitter at all. It's got that crunchiness and it's sweet-ish. It's not like super sweet, but it's sweetish in nature, which makes it just such a wonderful vegetable to add on to your salads. I love to combine it with like pomegranate seeds and a lot of cilantro, lemon, and olive oil. And that's really all you need. Just make a dressing out of lime or lemon with some lemon or lime zest. And I think I'm in the way of some people. And then, you know, yeah, so it's a little dressing like that, and then cut it up to sticks and, you know, toss it with a dressing, and that's all you need. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful addition, and something new for you to try as well. So let me see. I wish I could read your comments, you guys. This is frustrating. I can't swipe left to read your comments, and let me just figure out, see if I can get the comments going. Okay, this is not happening. So, oh, there we go. Yay! I found. Jicama reminds me of a potato. Misty says, true, but it totally doesn't taste like a potato at all, right? Just shared your video, let me know your thank you. Yeah, so one of the things you could do is, if you feel like somebody's gonna benefit from this, do share the video. That would be really nice. I would love that. All right, let me move on to other sections. Whole Foods just rearranged all their products. It drives me crazy because I don't know what's where. One of the things I want to show you is, we talked about local food and the importance of it. So for example, right here, I'm walking up and it says Rocky Mountains seasonal. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, so that is gonna be something that's local, and I would rather pick those rather than something that was brought in from California. Just because it is local, it is gonna have more beneficial microbes that really helps our immune system. So I wanna just share with you, you know, a lot of times people go like, oh, you know, my healthy thing and everything that I put into my smoothies is spinach, spinach, spinach. I'll be honest with you, I am so sick and tired of listening about spinach. One is it's high in oxalates, which I had a problem with, so I still have a bit of PTSD from spinach. But also, and a lot of people go like, yeah, it's really healthy because it's got iron in it. The level of available iron in spinach is actually pretty limited. So if you're having an iron deficiency, you're gonna do much better getting you know, things like from liver, and I'll show you some of the little secrets in a store where you can get like all these odd bits, as they call it. So instead, I want to encourage you to replace spinach in your recipes with, you know what I'm gonna say, if you follow me for a while, you know what I'm gonna say, and that is, you know, a combination of things like arugula, which is another crucifers vegetable that's going to be hugely supportive towards your hormones as well as the liver. And then we have things like, let's see, this one is baby, well, okay, we don't want spinach. There is also different combinations, like there's different blends. So, well, it's got spinach in it again, unfortunately, but it does have other vegetables. So anyway, my point is to mix things around a little bit and then add variety to your diet. That's really important because, like I said, a lot of times we get really stuck in kind of like in the rut of doing the same thing over and over again, and being limited that way in nutrition. So I want to show you something about fish because I think it's a highly controversial topic. So, you know, I know many of you are really freaked out that, oh my gosh, if I eat fish, I'm gonna have mercury poisoning and all that, right? Here's the thing. First of all, you want to get the cleanest seafood and fish possible, and I'll show you some of my favorites. But on the other hand, you also want to be sure that your digestion is really good and optimized, because the people who retain mercury in their body on a cellular level are people who are constipated, who are not moving their bowels on a regular basis to excrete these heavy metals, because the body inherently has the ability of getting rid of stuff. But also people who've got methylation problems. So if you have been tested for MTHFR and you've got those pathways compromised, you want to be a little bit more careful with seafood. And it's not to say you don't have to eat it, just have it like once, twice a week. That is good enough. So I want to show you some of my favorite bits and my least favorite bits, because I'm talking about all the great stuff, because that's just my character. Like, I love for you to be adding all these amazing foods to your diet, but I also need you to be a little bit cautious and aware of things that might not be the best. So let me start off with the things that I don't particularly fancy. And that is, can you see here? So that will be the Atlantic salmon, which is fresh and farm raised, right? Can you see how different the color is? Like, it's kind of mushy and white and falling apart, right? Very fatty. Versus if you compare it to something like the sockeye salmon, look at the color, right, of the fish here. It's just absolutely stunning. So the depth of the color. And here's an interesting thing about sockeye salmon. I don't know if you guys know this. Sockeye actually can't be farmed, so always has to be wild. Sockeye would never grow in a farmed environment, so you're getting the good stuff. The one trick about sockeye salmon I want to share with you is that it tends to be a rather dry fish. So it's not as fatty because it's wild, and it cooks is thinner. The fillet is always going to be thinner, so it cooks much faster as compared to like the Atlantic salmon or even the king salmon, right, which is also natural. So what you want to do is you want to halve your cooking time, right, of your salmon. And I have to tell you, I've been to people's homes and dinner parties who are really great cooks, but almost everyone I know overcooks the salmon, and it's so dry then, and it's just not tasty at all. So my recommendation for you today is try half the time of your cooking time of your salmon. And for me, most of the time, public announcement. So what I would recommend is, like, I typically, if I put it in the oven, I will cook it for no more than 15 minutes. That will be for the sockeye. Another one that I want to share with you is you definitely want to try to do as much local fish as possible if it's clean fish. We live in the mountains, so we don't have local fish here, right? Unless it's from the streams. But the other thing I want to just share with you is, let's see if they have this here. So the smaller the fish generally, the less toxicity there is. So things like, tuna, it will be one of the worst ones because it's a very large fish, with smaller fish like anchovies and sardines, which I know some people don't like, are some of the best. The other one I want to share with you, which is not local, but it's because it is so clean, and I live in Iceland, so I can tell you that the Icelanders are fanatical about cleanliness of food and their environment. They really are, like, so many countries should be learning from them about how to keep the environment clean. So I want to just share with you, there's a cool fish which is now available at a lot of stores, and that's the Icelandic cod fillet. So it's a beautiful, thick fish. It's very similar in taste and texture to the black cod fish, which is, let's see the price. So the Icelandic codfish is $17 a pound, and the black codfish fillet, which is, oh, let me turn the camera around, right here. The black cod fillet is $24, so significantly more expensive, even though I love personally the black cod. Have you guys had it before? It is such a rich and meaty and not fishy fish that is just absolutely spectacular. One of my absolute favorite fishes. Who here has tried a black cod? So that's about fish. Let me move on. I want to show you a couple of other things around the store. I just walked in, so I'm wondering, from what you guys are listening, what are you gonna be making this weekend? Let's take a look. Okay, somebody's asking about the liver. It's a good thing I love liver. Most people don't like liver because they don't know how to cook it, and your parents have taught you or have been basically not cooking liver very well, and so a lot of people just hate it because they grew up with really badly cooked liver. So one of the things you want to do is, see, I'm over at the frozen section at Whole Foods right now, and a lot of times things are being kept here which are not very popular, which is exactly what we want. And so let me show you a couple of options. One is, for example, you can get pork lard here, which you can render yourself. And by the way, lard has got 50% of monounsaturated fats, which is awesome actually, and it doesn't, you're not gonna get a heart attack from it. Ribs, you can make bone broth from that. Look at that, here we go, beef liver that's already been sliced, right? They also used to have, oftentimes, oh, there we go, see this? So they have chicken feet, and which, for those of you who have done my online cooking program, you know that the best chicken stock is made from chicken feet. It's just the best tasting, and it gels like crazy, and it tastes so delightful. Can you see that the chicken feet are sold out? It's actually a few friends of mine here in Boulder. We all like sprint to Whole Foods. They'll deliver on Mondays, I think, and so all of us sprint on Monday just to buy up all the chicken feet. So another thing I want to walk you through, in case you're sensitive to prices, is, by the way, there is a really cool liver pate recipe on my website, cookingforbalance.com. Check it out. It uses chicken livers, which, by the way, are really cheap, and it's such a delightful recipe. You know, I know many of you would go or aspire to go to Paris on a holiday, or go to France for a holiday. And a lot of people do, and then they try the pates there, and they're like, oh my God, it's so good, I can't believe it. Well, that's exactly is because it's cooked well, and it's cooked with the right spices, it's not overcooked. So check out my Easy French liver pate on cookingforbalance.com. You're gonna love it, because it really seriously is good. So what I wanna show you next is the bulk section. Almost every market today has got bulk sections. And so I want to encourage you to start shopping at these sections, because you can save about 50% of the cost of your food, you know, with bulk sections. So, for example, if you're getting almonds, right? These almonds, if you look at the dollar value per pound, is gonna be about, it varies from food to food, but it can be as much as half the price to 30% cheaper to be getting that in bulk. And the same thing goes for spices. Hey, have you guys seen that recipe that Angela from our customer support team has created? And I posted it last night on Hormones Balance Facebook page. So if you're watching it, you are on Facebook right now, check it out, because it's got this rose and lavender and, was it hibiscus there as well? And she made it into this lemon and lemon zest, and she made it into a lemonade, and it's just absolutely delightful. So one of the things that, you know, you might not know is that lavender can be very well used culinarily. And so this is one of them here. You typically, in most health stores, you won't be able to get herbs online. Oh, sorry, you can't get herbs in the store itself, so you need to get them either from an herbal store near your place or get them online. Hey Angela, do we want to post, could you post the link to that Oregon-based herbal company. I know many of you know about mountain rose herbs, and it's great, but I also like to support the smaller you know, distributors, because I think it's good to support the smaller businesses and let them grow as well. So a couple of things. I'm wondering what questions do you guys have, because now I can see your questions. You've got so many options there here in Scotland. Yeah, I hear you, I know. But make the best out of it, you know? Love black cod as well, so delicious, John Lewis says. I know. Okay, let's see. What other common. I like to cook with parchment paper. Okay, so another thing I want to show you, let me see, is the, oh, let me show you, since I'm in the section right now here. So many of you have been asking, like, hey, where do I get all these different seaweed from, right? So you can see most stores have a whole section for seaweed, and so a couple of ones that I want to show you is nori sheets are really great for using that as wraps. So you basically put things like avocado, arugula, you know, pieces of fish or whatever, and roll it up like a burrito kind of a thing. Wakame, another really great one. And one of the, so what's the big, let me just walk you through it and I'll tell you in a second what's so great about them. Kombu, which you can easily add to your bone broths as well. It's not gonna taste fishy at all. In fact, it just gives you the umami kind of undertone, which is absolutely wonderful. Arame, which is another great, very highly nutritious seaweed. So you can see there's quite a big selection of all these different seaweeds. So do you guys wanna guess, like, what's so good about seaweed? Like, why do I like to use it in my cooking, and a lot of the recipes that are coming up in the herbal program I'm gonna have those. So while you're typing, I'll tell you that one of it is because they're so nutritionally dense, right? Very high vitamin, all the B's, which are huge for liver support. On the other hand, you know, also high in magnesium and calcium. But one of the best things is that it's high in iodine. And iodine, we have the highest number of receptors in the brain and our breast cells and the thyroid for iodine. My only precaution would be that if you do have Hashimoto's disease and elevated antibodies, you want to be really careful with excessive amount of seaweed. And the seaweed that is the highest in iodine is this one here, kombu, also known as kelp, K-E-L-P. So kombu is the highest in iodine, but like for example, arame, wakame, nori sheets have very little iodine, so they're good if you have Hashimoto's disease. Women have reported to use, let me move on, I want to show you some other things. Women have reported that when they use seaweed in their diet on a regular basis, their brain fog goes away, their energy levels go up, and you know, some of the longest living people in the world, the Okinawans, eat seaweed on a regular basis. So let's take a look. Facebook has reorganized the aisle, so I'm a little bit improvising here with you because it's all new to me right now. They literally just did that yesterday. But there's a couple of things that I did. Okay, let me show you the section here, and that is going to be a couple of things I want to show you. One is, you know, it's really nice to be buying all these teas, but I can tell you this right away that, you know, this is like, it will cost you $7 for, I don't know, 15 pouches or something. It's gonna be way cheaper when you learn to make your own teas. And the other cool thing about teas is that when you learn your own, is that you don't use any tea bags, and a lot of tea bags do use bleach in order to keep them nice and white, and you're basically adding chlorine to your drink, which is not highly desirable, right, when we're trying to heal. So I'm in a section right now. I want to show you something on, you know, about sweeteners. So, and this is, I'm talking about stevia. I don't know, many of you always have a question about stevia. So this is one of the brands I would definitely recommend, and that's Sweet Leaf, one of the cleanest products. one of the products that I don't like is Truvia. So I want to show you how to really examine and be your own detective, of food, and not just be relying on advertising and commercials that you see, especially the bigger advertising. With taking the tea out of back help, Rosemary's asking. That's a good question. You know, I'm sure it will. The thing is that when you make your own teas, they're so much fresher. And so when you guys, for those of you who are gonna join us for the Herbs for Balance program, you're gonna start spotting the difference. Like when you make your own, let's say, nettle infusion, and just how it tastes versus when you do it out of a tea bag is like day and night. It really is. So let me go back to Truvia, and let me turn the camera around. So I want to show you why do I not like products like that. And for that, we've got to look at the ingredients list. So take a look at the ingredients list, which is right here. As you can see, even though this is advertised as stevia, the first ingredient is erythritol. And then we have the stevia leaf extract and natural flavor. So I have two problems with this. Number one is that erythritol is a sugar alcohol, which a lot of people have a problem with, especially if you have IBS. Many people don't deal with it very well. And then stevia leaf extract is actually, it's an extract and not a real stevia leaf itself, which also gets me a little to be suspicious, like what was the extraction process? How much of, processing actually took place? What chemicals were used to extract that sweetness and the active compounds which are called stevinoids out of the stevia leaf? And number three, natural flavors is something that is a huge no-no. Unfortunately, in the United States, food labeling and regulations are actually they're a scam. And so food flavors actually could mean something truly and highly chemical, which can be very detrimental to us. So this is the reason why you want to turn the product around, and those are the kind of things you want to look at. And if you're using stevia, then Sweet Leaf is my brand of choice. Let me take a look at other sweeteners. I know this is a common question we get: what kind of sweeteners do I like? So about a few years ago, this was the darling of all the sweeteners, right? There we go. Okay. Do I like it? Do I use it? No, because it is very high in fructose, which requires the liver to process. And so I don't use agave, and I don't recommend that you would. So my favorite, I'm just looking for the sweetener. Well, one of the things you definitely want to do is honey, even though it's high-ish in fructose, it's been used for generations, and as long as you use it in moderation, it's perfectly fine. I just love, this is all local. Lazy Bee Ranch is actually a local farm, so you can see the word local. That's one of the cool things about Whole Foods, is they actually tell you what local is. And local honey is actually really, really high in enzymes that are going to be absolutely wonderful to helping your immune system. Oh, there we go. It's right there on top. Can you see this? So coconut nectar, I love it because not only does it taste good, but coconut nectar also is low in fructose. It's got a low glycemic index. It's not gonna bring up your sugar levels up really quickly to get you all shaky and unfocused and hypoglycemic. And it's not very processed. So those are the three criteria that I typically use for sweeteners: is how processed is it? So we want to have as little as possible. I'm going to a loud section now. How much of fructose there is, the lower the better. And then I would look at the glycemic index. How quickly does it increase your sugar levels, right? Or the glycemic load is actually a better indicator of that, and you can always Google that and find out. So I want to show you one more thing before we wrap up today. Take a look at the kombucha aisle. I know kombucha is like the new craze, like the new healthy. Everybody's healthy is drinking kombucha, right? So here's my thing with kombucha. I am actually not a fan, and I'll tell you why. It's really high in yeast, and not all fermented foods are the same. So when you make, for example, a water kefir, or if you're drinking something like sauerkraut juice, if it's miso, it's all different kinds of bacteria, and kombucha is really high in yeast. So here is the thing, many of you have candida issues. Kombucha is gonna feed that. So how do you know if kombucha agrees with you or not? It's really simple. A couple of things to check. Number one is that if you're feeling bloated, if you start burping, if you're feeling a little bit drunk, like high on it, if you are feeling, let's see what else, if you start getting itchy ears after drinking it, that's a bad sign that you know that kombucha is not your friend. I can tell you that right away. I had a few clients who had said that after having kombucha, like I remember working once with a woman who had celiac, and she said that actually kombucha was making her feel better. So it really depends on what kind of bacteria you're missing. And if you're very yeasty and you have a lot of yeast going on in your body, such as the Candida albicans, then kombucha is not your friend. So I just want you to know that. Having said that, what can you drink? So I want to show you, there's another little craze that's been around for, I think, pretty good reason. And that would be, let me turn the camera around so you can see, whoops. So that would be our coconut water. And you know, one of the brands that I really love is the Harmless Harvest. Really, why do I love it? Because all it says is that the only ingredient we have is organic coconut water, nothing else. The problem with products like that is that their shelf life is pretty short. So that's the only thing. Now, the other thing I need you to be aware of is that you want to look at the label and look at the amount of sugar that's in the product. So this one reads 14 grams. That's one thing. So you want to then divide it by 4. So 14 by 4, that's like 3.5 teaspoons, right, of sugar. And then look at the serving size, right? The serving size here says 4. So that means that if you drink that much, that gives you 3.5 teaspoons. If you drink half of this bottle, that's already 7 teaspoons of sugar. So is that a lot? Yeah, I would say it is, definitely. You know, for healthy hormones, especially if you're hypoglycemic and you're trying to manage your hormones really well, you want to really stabilize your sugar levels. Having my best to practice in my own daily life, I would not do more than 5 teaspoons a day. That's 20 grams of sugar. So if you're drinking this, that's fine, but just make sure you do not do any other sugar on that day itself. And you might say, well, it's natural sugar. Sugar is sugar. I'm sorry, it doesn't make a difference. But one thing you can do, and I teach that in my cooking program. Angela, if you could post the Cooking for Balance free workshop. In the workshop, I talk about food and hormone connection, but in a full program, there is a recipe for coconut water kefir that you ferment. So you're basically using all that sugar, that's that lovely coconut water, which is great sugar, but then you're reducing it by fermenting it. And I use kefir grains for that, and they basically, what the grains do is they eat up the sugar, they turn that into good bacteria, they create a little bit of gas, carbon dioxide, and that's gonna make the drink a little bit fizzy. You're gonna open it up once in a while, otherwise your bottle's gonna explode, and happened to me many times before. So something to be aware of. So I think let me see what questions do you guys have. I can't watch this. It's frozen. I'll watch later. Okay, cool. Sorry, can't do much. Let's see. Some of you shared the video. Thank you. Sometimes you feel like a ploy to destroy. I'm not sure what the full message is. I can't read it right in full, Rosemary. Yeah, there's a lot of ploys and plots and ploys around food, that's for sure. So that's why, you know, I kind of joke about it that for my previous life, I used to help brands because I used to work with a lot of skincare products. I never worked with food brands except for Pepsi. Can you believe it? Pepsi was my client. So I'm redeeming myself now doing this work where I switch people like you who are smart and want to be really aware of what you're putting in your body, from reading the front labels to turning it around and reading the back labels. So that's really one of my missions. Since I'm in this section here, I just want to quickly show you The last thing for today, because I gotta go, is this one here. So take a look at this section here. This is one of my favorite, and I'm so glad that there's such a big selection. Can you guys guess what they all are? They're all fermented foods, which is so awesome. So let's take a look. I'm loving this already because it's from Colorado, so local produce. They probably use local ingredients. So using green chili. So this is a live crowd, right, that uses green chilies, classic daikon. So the daikon that I was showing at the beginning of the tour. Let's see what this one. This using red cabbage. Oh, that's a nice one. Red cabbage. So I think this one is mixed. That's why it's lighter. Red cabbage. This is just probably normal sauerkraut. This one is using napa, and you can see this is a kimchi. So it's got the chilies in it. Oh, one of my favorites, caraway. That's such a great digestive spice as well. And the choices are just endless. There's all these brands now coming out. Here's the thing, you guys. For this little bottle here, this little jar, that's $7. You know, I'll tell you that right away. In the Cooking for Balance program, we have a whole session on how to ferment. And you take a cabbage head and you make, this will probably make like 6 of these. So, you know, the bottle that the jar was showing you, right? It will make 6 of these, and you buy a cabbage head will cost you probably, I want to guess $5. So basically, this costs 6 times more than what you can have made when you make it yourself. And you know, it takes a while to make it when you're first making it, but once you get used to making your own sauerkraut, it's like boom, boom, done. Summer is not a good time to make sauerkraut because if you're living in a warm climate, it's gonna go too quickly. There are certain temperatures that we want to make ferments, because if they ferment too quickly, then they basically rot, and it's all wasted food. So I hope this was helpful. I had fun taking you guys around the store. And I want to just say one more thing before I chow off, is that do support your local retailers, food retailers. Check out local food co-ops. They are really incredible at selecting food. They typically support a local traders. You know, Whole Foods is expensive. It's not for everybody, but if you want to save money, you can always head out to farmers markets. Some places, they are very inexpensive. Other places are super expensive. In Boulder, it's ridiculous. It's for $10, you get like 5 apples, seriously. But then you travel to Denver, which is just 40 minutes away, and yet for $10, you get like bags and bags of apples, right? So it really depends on the place, and I think how affluent the community is. Support co-ops, support farmers markets. There's a lot of independent food retailers that are really paying a lot of attention where they're sourcing their food from. And I know some of you might say, you know, organic food is expensive, and you know, I'm sorry, but in the United States, we grew into this assumption that we can live on a $1 pizza slice. What I'll say to you is 5, 10, 15 years from now, you're gonna be spending your money on medical treatments to treat cancers and chronic diseases. And so don't save up on things like that. You can save money just by putting more vegetables into your diet, eat less protein, animal protein, stretch it out as much as you can. But vegetables are not really that expensive. So that's my ending message for today. I hope you guys have fun as much as I did taking you around the store. I need to do some food shopping now. I'm going to a party tonight, so I got some cooking to do. All right, I hope this was fun, and I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.